Welcome. I'm Chef Steve, and I'm back. We're here today at the Adaptive Services Center for the City of Scottsdale, and we're going to be making summer fresh fruit salsa for Livability magazine. We have this amazing adaptable kitchen where the cupboards lower to you, where the stove lowers, where the sinks are cut out, you can roll straight in. This kitchen is amazing to cook in. I know many of us can't afford this type of kitchen, but believe me, it's a privilege to cook in it myself. I'm here with my good friend and fellow foodie, Gina Schuh, and today we're going to make you summer fresh fruit salsa, and we're going to teach you how we chop, dice, slice, and mince. So all of you can do this at home. As all of us with disabilities, you all have different function levels. I am paralyzed on my left side, but I have full use of my right arm, so I'm able to chop, dice, and slice and mince using my right arm. But being a former chef, being able to use both arms, it's very different than learning to cook with one arm. And Gina, what about you?
So I am a C5-6 quadriplegic complete. I have no fine motor use, actually. I only have tenodesis, so for me, I utilize both my hands to cut, and I use an angled knife because it gives me great leverage.
So Gina, let's get started.
Let's do this.
You'll notice we both cut off the top.
And then I will just do slices. I have a little more control when I use both of my hands.
And to have adapted to use the point of the knife onto the cutting board, and then I just chop and rock.
So peach is always the round stuff, I think. Dear Lord, I just know I don't cut myself. But I just kind of cut into the half, so what I'll do is when I roll it around, I can roll the other half. And I just go around, just kind of like how everyone's kind of been taught. And then what I do is I pop my knife up to split it in half instead of grabbing it to split it.
So I take the flat end of the peach where it's picked on the tree, I turn it upside down like that. I take my knife and I use the point of it and I dip into it. And I round like that. Then I use my index finger, I pick it up, I turn it around. Now the tricky part is to find out where I cut first. Then I use my hands, because I have dexterity in my fingers, and I can pick the pit out. For me, if I get the peach into this position here, with the dexterity I have, I'm able to use a rocker knife and just rock back and forth. And one of the things is onions that I do pre-purchase sometimes, because I can buy a whole package of 2 to 3 onions for $1.99 that are already pre-chopped. That saves me so much time and energy.
Dive into the side with the point of my knife, and then this is where the culinary stuff comes in, obviously, you know. So I will trim off the tip, leave the root end of it because you want to hold the onion together, and then you just kind of cut thin slices in.
Is to remember to find things that work for you. What we're showing you works for us, but it may not work for you. So that's very important. I do very much the same thing you do. The difference with me is I keep it together, but then I just go about 3/4 of the way through and come down. That's how you rough chop.
So I'll come through and then I'll pop it. Oops, as I cut your knife. But I'll just go through, usually, just kind of give it a very similar to the way that I cut peach. I just kind of like.
I get it to that point, the way I cut my peach, but it's twisting it to get the two halves apart that I can't do.
I'm probably terrifying people watching this. They're like, oh, she's gonna cut herself.
That's the other thing you got to be very. How often have you cut yourself?
I don't know if I've cut myself since, really. I mean, I poked myself with a new knife.
Better knock on wood.
Yeah, I know, as I'm about to break. No, I haven't since being in a chair.
There, you did it perfectly.
But I have burned myself a lot. That's a big one for me.
Now that's where you got to be careful when you get the knife towards the seed. I like what you're doing there. That's perfect.
As I chase it down, that's what you probably are struggling with. Just saying, they're just so slippery.
They're slippery, and that's what happens. I've started cutting and it ends up across the kitchen.
Okay, so.
See, I love the fact you're able to have the dexterity to hold it.
Yeah, that is, and not everything. Some things I can hold better than others.
Being very careful with that so you don't cut through the skin to cut your hand, which is important.
That out too. That's another one.
You want an avocado for this salsa that's not overly ripe, but not overly firm either. It's like the perfect avocado. Well, guess what, Gina? When I was buying the ingredients for today's salsa, I found pre-sliced mango.
Yeah, that I can support.
See, what's interesting is you cut that way. That's what you're supposed to do as a chef. I kind of went the rocky way, just kind of started chopping. Citrus is pretty easy to cut, to be honest with you.
Yes.
One trick, do you ever do this trick where you roll it? So you roll a citrus to get the juices up inside, so when you juice it, all the juice will come out. The great thing about this salsa is you can add anything you want. One thing I also do with this salsa is I add blueberries. Blueberries are very good. Add a lot of color. High antioxidants, which are really good. Then we do tomatoes too. Trick with cutting any herbs like parsley or cilantro or things like that, you want to make sure that your cutting board is dry. So I'm going to dry this off with our kitchen towel here that we have.
So the way I do it is I actually will keep the bundle intact, and then I put my hand on the bundle, and then I just kind of slice. I actually use my wrist kind of to guide the knife a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm so used to it now. If I feel like I don't have that much balance, I can kind of compensate and press on the top of the knife too to give a little extra.
So one thing I do too is, this is a mincer. Mincers work really good for like rosemary or thyme once you get it off the stem. And all I do is roll. Or I'll take it and I'll use my rocker knife like this, and I'll just... Everything needs a little salt and pepper. Do you want to put the pepper in?
Go ahead. You know, I would actually, because the pinching is kind of hard for me, what I do is I have the inversion grinder. You just flip it upside down and it'll freshly grind pepper or salt. They're amazing. You can buy them really cheap online.
Last two ingredients in here are a little bit of avocado oil and a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Now, just to finish this off, there's an option. I have cojita cheese and sunflower seeds. And you just take a little bit, sprinkle a little bit on top. And there you go. Summer fresh fruit salsa. Well, Gina, I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
I had a lot of fun. I hope you did as well. Do you have any last tips for our people? Let them know what you do?
I think it's kind of about exploring what's available online. Just start searching, asking other people with disabilities about what they use. And also, if you don't want to go out grocery shopping, there are a lot of meal deliveries that will send stuff to your home that you can cook at home. That's much healthier.
And there are meal deliveries also that you can cook at home that they have things already chopped up if you don't have the dexterity to chop things up, which is great.
It's amazing.
And the one thing I learned was talking to other people, like you mentioned, sharing what you do with me sharing what I do with you, other individuals that we know, the foodies, that are foodies. We learn so much from each other, the peer support, which is great. But I think most importantly is to find out what works for you best. Trial and error, practice. Get out there and try it. You will not know until you try it. But food is so good as therapy. And I encourage everybody to get out there, make this salsa. This is all about summer. Go out and have fun with it.